Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Don't Let the White Coat Fool You. I'm Dr. Norma Mobley along with Dr. Prasharon Dixon, and we are going to talk to you about Doctor's Day. Happy Doctor's Day to all.
Happy Doctor's Day.
Now, what we're going to talk about today is not how others show appreciation to you as being a physician, but how do you appreciate yourself? We're going to get into a little healer's reset and talk about prioritizing ourselves.
Yes.
You know, we've talked before about resilience and how to balance our work life with our personal life. And after talking about that, I began to reflect and think, I didn't do a very good job
No, me
with
either.
doing that.
Me either. Me either. I really didn't think about it, right? We talked about that it just wasn't in our nature. It wasn't something we had seen modeled before. And so
And it was never discussed. Unlike today, we have a whole entity within medicine, mindfulness, and we talk about physician burnout.
Right.
Boy, were we burned out, and we were
Right.
too ignorant to realize it.
Right. And we, if you didn't fall out,
That's
you weren't
right.
burnt out. We just didn't know that we had reached that stage. And many of you may not know that either. And so that's why we thought this was important for us to really kind of look at what do we do today of all days that can show our appreciation for us. And so, if we think back, Norma, to our earlier selves, like what would you tell yourself 20 years ago to do?
So 20 years ago, I was in solo practice, had started my own practice, single parent, son involved in a lot of activities, running him back and forth. And during that time, very, very back in the day, this medical community in which I lived and practiced, we did not have hospitalists. So that meant you made your own rounds. So my day, pretty much, I realized I needed to get up very, very early in order to make my rounds and then come back and get my son to school and then get to my practice. So my days started about 4:30. And involved in that, I would cook dinner so that dinner would already be done by the time we got home at the end of the day from whatever my son was doing.
Wow, that's a long day.
It's a very long day. Now, what I realized moving forward is that I really didn't have to be there all the time. So I did have two other physicians that I shared call with, and I could have called on them more versus doing it all on my own. And then the other thing was just let it go. I didn't have to go to all three hospitals. Finally, I realized I could just go to just that one, and I still got the referrals of patients from the nurseries without, having to be on call at all the hospitals and going to deliveries, because that's what we did. There were no nurse practitioners or hospitalists, so if there was a complicated delivery, the obstetrician was calling you. If that parent identified you as their pediatrician, you were the one who had to go in.
So you would tell yourself to...
I would tell myself, right, I would tell myself also that, I have such strong faith, and my faith building grew through that experience. And I'm going to share how when I started my practice, being uncertain about the income and the patient flow, I was working in the ER. That's how I supplemented my income as I started my practice. But I would work evenings in the ER and do
your practice
clinic during the day.
The things you do to get through.
Just before I was to renew my contract, I was driving home one morning after doing a shift, preparing so I could go home, take a shower, get my son to school, go into practice. At that time, my parents were staying with me when I first opened my practice to help out with my son. And I fell asleep at a red light. People were honking the horn. I didn't just doze off. I was asleep, okay? And as I put my foot on the gas to head towards home, I could hear this voice speaking to my spirit saying, if you're going to trust me, you have to trust me with everything.
What?
And that very night when I went back to my shift, when I finished, I met with the hospital administrator that next morning and I said, hey, look, I'm not going to renew my contract. And she was, like, oh, we're sure going to miss you anytime you want to come back. Feel free to do so. I didn't renew my contract. And it was less than a week. I had a ad going in the paper every Sunday about announcing my practice.
Right.
And there happened to be a family practice physician who, for personal reasons, was going to close his practice.
Wow.
He lived on one of the islands and going back for his family. And he was specifically looking for a pediatrician to refer his pediatric patients to, who also accepted Medicaid. And all those patients came to me.
So
and I had
your
this
practice.
and I actually saw my numbers for that month were 200. And I had no idea that I would see that many patients. And so, yes, my trust in God is what helped me be able to take that faith step. But then after that, I realized, okay, I need to do better about getting my rest and things like that. So when I think back, even then, I felt like I always had to be there. I realized the practice still went on. I missed out on a lot, especially when my son went away to college and missing out on football games and things like that because I felt like I needed to fulfill my call responsibilities.
Right. But your family's important too.
My family was more important, and even being there to go visit my parents, I hadn't been doing that. And so I think back on those times and say, okay, your practice can still survive without you physically being there all the time. Take that time away for your family, but also for yourself.
Yes, and everybody needs to take that advice. You really need to think about prioritizing. And I really appreciate, as I was in residency, that my mom was there. In fact, my mom used to tell everybody she was on call. The same time I was on call, she was on call. And she would actually come to my house, which gave me such peace and comfort that my child wasn't out with someone else, or my children were out with someone else, that I had to take them to daycare or whatever. I had someone that I trusted who was there. So, keep people around you who you trust to help you feel safe in the work that you're doing, especially if you have to do something. At least you have that support. And I'll have to say, if I think back to what I could have done differently, I could have been a little less, I'm going to say mean, but I don't know if I'll call it mean to my hubby.
Oh,
My hubby really did try to figure out, where do I fit in this puzzle, this place that my wife is in, to make her life less complicated while she's going through this training period. And I really didn't think until I was later in life how much he did to make that work for me. He worked nights because I complained that our daughter went to daycare, and we would ask the daycare worker, what did she do today? Oh, just kid stuff. And I felt like I was missing so much of her life. Well, he changed his whole plan. He went to work at night so he could be there in the day with my daughter. And he would call me and tell me the little things she did. And it made me feel like I didn't miss as much.
Oh.
So that was helpful. So I would say, really, for me, appreciating more the family that I had there to support me would be better. I would do that differently. And then now, I appreciate opportunity to meditate in the mornings. And something I heard my daughter say, but I didn't really feel it until the other day. She probably doesn't even know I did this just the other day. She goes out in our yard and walks in her bare feet because you're supposed to
Yes.
feel the grass beneath your feet. And
I
I
know
did it
which
the
daughter
other
it
day,
is.
and it hit me. I was
Yeah.
like, that does feel good. Just a little grass under my feet.
Experiencing all that goodness God has here for us.
Yeah. So I call my oldest my India Irie baby. She just
Okay.
kind of brings the nature and
I
brings the
love
flavor and the
India.
things I don't think about. Burning a candle. The other day she decided to clean our floors with a combination of, I think it was lemon and rosemary
Smells so
and
good.
yeah, all of these herbs that she put together to that she cleaned our floors with. And my whole thing was, this just smells good. I'm glad you're doing this. It smells good. But she had a method to the madness. She cleaned from the front to the back, and while she was doing that, she was saying affirmations to herself to give our house a special blessing. Yeah, we don't think about stuff like that, but I love that I'm learning these new ways to bring peace to myself and my home.
So, I don't know if you noticed, but I had to fight back some tears for a moment when you were talking about your husband, because not only was he so special, I mean, of course he's so special to you, but for those of you, like I'm always saying, this is my dear friend. She is like a sister to me. And I remember him, I had to take an exam, and you said, I can't come, I'm on call. I have to go to the hospital, but Walt can come.
Yeah.
And he came right over and sat with Cameron so that I wouldn't be late to go take an exam at school.
Wow.
Like he stepped right in there even to help your friend.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
He's so phenomenal.
I tell people, one of my other friends, I went to her house. I just happened to stop by her house. There he is putting up a ceiling fan. So Walter was always there to help all of us. And again, that's what we talk about. It's a big family. You need to take advantage of your extended family within medicine and outside of medicine to help make your lives even better. So today, as you're appreciating yourself, appreciate those who have helped you to relax.
I even think about I call them my pediatric posse, but during residency, I actually contemplated after match, because of some things that went on, postponing starting my internship because fearful of being a single parent and starting residency. What was I going to do? I didn't have that support system anymore like I did in medical school. And God just put these people in place, and we are still friends to this day.
Yep.
And they're my son's madrinas. They're his godmothers. That they really were sent like angels from heaven.
So today's a good day. It's Doctor's Day for us to think about that. Like, who's in place? Who's in our lives? Who's supporting us? And make sure that we are appreciating them for doing that. Just give a little shout out to them.
Shout out to those that you appreciate, and then show some appreciation for yourself. So what we're going to talk about with Doctor's Day is doing that reset I talked about before, I mentioned before. So we're going to do a simple little exercise that this can happen for you on Doctor's Day or any day.
Any day.
Find a point in time in between patients. You may have a little break, and you can do what I call breathe, balance, and bloom. It's springtime, right? So we want to bloom right along with these flowers and everything around us, okay?
Okay.
So, Sharon, we're going to let you do the exercise.
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. So we're going to start out. You want to get yourself into a quiet place.
Okay.
The lighting can
these
be whatever.
shoes off.
That's
so
right.
I can
You
get
can take
in
your
place.
shoes off.
All right.
You can be sitting or standing to do this, okay? And you're going to close your eyes. And just
Well, I'm going to take these glasses off too so I can
okay.
get into it. Okay, here we go.
Close your eyes and concentrate on your breathing. Breathing in your nose and out your mouth. Take like 2 or 3 breaths, breathing in your nose and out your mouth. Now what I want you to do is concentrate, Breathing in at a 1-to-2 ratio. So breathe in for however many counts, double that for how long you breathe out. And as you're exhaling, you're just releasing any inner tensions, any anxiety. Breathe in, goodness, exhale, and release. You'll do this for about 3 to 5 cycles. If your thoughts start to just drift into any type of anxiety, try to redirect those thoughts and focus on your breathing using your diaphragm. The purpose of this is to reduce your stress, increase your oxygen flow, and promote a sense of calm. So I think we've done about 3. So now we're going to get into balance. This is mindful movement. So I want you to concentrate on your neck and shoulder area. That's a very common place for tension. Moving your chin, using your chin as that focal point, starting at your right shoulder, your chin goes to your right shoulder and rotate slowly up toward the ceiling, allowing those neck muscles to stretch over to your left shoulder, chin to the left shoulder. Don't raise your chin up, back around to mid chest. Rotating to your right, to the left, back center. Now do the opposite direction to your left, still with your chin leading the way. I want you to notice that you're starting to have that relaxation, continuing your deep breathing. I want you to focus on where you're feeling the sensations of your chosen movement. You can also do shoulder stretching if you like. The purpose of this is to release tension and improve your circulation and restore physical balance. Now, for those of you who are into yoga, if you want to get into a stance or a particular position that allows you to stretch, you can always do that as well. Now, the bloom part has to do with the mind. Okay? So I want you to focus on something positive. It may have been something that just took place, maybe a positive interaction with your patients, or a personal accomplishment that you've made, or someone very near and dear. Focus on that. No matter how small it may be, it's still important if it's positive. You can even do a thankful prayer at this time, but it's a moment of mindful gratitude. And this can happen at any point of the day, even if there's a particular time of stress in your workday, you can always redirect that mindful balance back to something positive, creating that positive energy. So how was that brief moment?
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Great. It doesn't take very long.
Right.
It doesn't take very long, ladies.
Doesn't take very long.
Get in there, do your breathing, get in balance, and bloom into positivity.
Bloom.